Welcome to this special edition of Inside Fall River. And as you know, in Inside Fall River, we discuss a range of topics that are happening in our community. And today we're talking about a very serious issue, one that needs attention. And April has been declared by our mayor as a Sexual Assault Awareness and Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I'm very happy to have three guests with me today. With me, closest to me, is Michelle Loranger. Michelle is Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center of Bristol County. Is it Loranger or Loranger?
Loranger.
Loranger. And next to her is Michael Branner. And Michael is a facilitator of Nurturing Fathers Group. Michael is also a social worker with the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. And finally, we have Rebecca McCullough. Rebecca is with the Women's Center, and she's a development director and representing a perspective from the Women's Center. And I'm going to begin by asking Michelle to just tell us a little bit about your agency. I know it's found a new home in Fall River, how it's come about, and particularly what's its focus on dealing with issues of child abuse and sexual assault.
Sure, thank you. The Children's Advocacy Center of Bristol County is based on a national model that came out of a case some 27 years ago of a child sexual abuse case that needed to be prosecuted and need multiple partners involved in the prosecution, investigation, the medical care, the treatment pieces. And it didn't go so well using an adult model application to it. So born was the concept of children's advocacy centers, and we're both a place and a process of investigation, coordination, and healing for children and their families who have been impacted by child sexual abuse, physical abuse, witness to violence, and we also serve disabled adults, those with intellectual disabilities.
And during this month, the month of April, when we are having this commemoration, what kinds of activities is the Child Advocacy Center both promoting during this month and promoting for the future?
So April is a really big month for us, and while you know, our mission is to really talk about prevention, we have a lot of concerted effort in the month of April. April is a twofer for us in that we are the agency that addresses child sexual abuse. Most of our cases, 90% of our cases are child sexual abuse. So being child abuse awareness and prevention, sexual assault awareness and prevention. We are in the community almost every day and every night throughout the month of April at various proclamations by the various mayors in our 4 urban settings in Bristol County, because we have a countywide purview. So we are doing proclamations in each of the 4 cities. We are participating in all of the family fun nights in the Fall River schools, passing out and handing out our pinwheels for prevention and really offering opportunities to learn more about how parents can protect their children around caretaker protection and being informed around issues related to child sexual abuse. Doing trainings for various child care centers. So those are just a few things that come to mind that we're doing.
Great. Now, Michael, I know that you're the facilitator of the Nurturing Fathers Group, and would like you to tell us a little bit about what your agency does to improve the safety for children in our Commonwealth and particularly in our region.
Yeah, thank you. So our agency has many initiatives constantly ongoing. Things are changing. It's fluid often. And 2 things we're currently doing is paying more specific attention to shaken baby syndrome, because it is the leading cause of death for children who are abused, as well as paying more attention to the role fathers play in keeping their children safe. So there's this Fatherhood initiative that's come down from our central DCF office in Boston, really working around trying to better engage fathers and talking to them around the role that they have and they can play around keeping their own children safe. So there's a variety of different things we're doing within our area or office, specifically around the fatherhood stuff.
Great, and we're going to come back so you can give us a little bit more information about the program relating to Nurturing Fathers. I'd like to ask Rebecca to have a piece of this introductory role and talk particularly about the Women's Center and how it relates particularly to certainly women's issues, but also to children. I assume there's some component, even though you are the Women's Center, that you'll have some interest in the children of these women as well.
Correct. Actually, the Women's Center is kind of misnomer because we deal with all victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, and we have for 15 years, we've had a child and adolescent trauma program. And we have 3 on-staff licensed clinician therapists that can take care of children as they come into shelter, or we get so many referrals also from the Child Advocacy Center. We have a great collaboration. In fact, the director of our child trauma program is actually president of the board of the CAC, so we work very closely. The Women's Center is a domestic violence and sexual assault. We are a dual agency, and we have counseling. We have 3 shelters. We have our Sister's Place right here in Fall River. We have 2 other shelters in New Bedford. We are also, people don't realize, the Rape Crisis Center for the entire South Coast. We extend from Swansea and Somerset all the way to Wareham, and there are advocates on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to go to Charlton, Toby, and St. Luke's Hospital and be with a woman if she comes in for domestic violence or sexual assault, to be there and guide them through the process, let them know what their options are. They make the decision, but we are there to help them. And we also do legal and medical advocacy, so we have many, many wide scope of services. And our service area is the entire South Coast.
Great. Well, Rebecca, also, I know that you've been a creator of something called Let's Talk About It.
I'm not really the creator.
No?
Every
All right.
year, there's a national campaign. The Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month is actually a national campaign, and across the country, mayors and agencies are all getting together to really try to raise the awareness. And this year's topic, it's called "It's Time to Talk About It," because as you can see, it's not an easy subject to talk about. But people need to, talk to their children, and really the most important thing is listen to what they have to say. Because 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. And 1 in 5 children are solicited sexually while on the internet. And, most people think of stranger danger, but most of the children that are sexually abused by someone they know, love, and trust. And there are an estimated 40 million survivors of child abuse throughout the country. And it's also important to talk to your teens about dating violence. 11% of high school students and 6% of middle school students actually reported being physically hurt by a dating partner sometime in their life. And the CDC, the Division of Violence Prevention, did a survey that was released in 2011, and actually it's like 24 people a minute are either sexually abused, stalked, or have some kind of violence. So it's not an easy thing to talk about, but it's really important. And teens today with the internet, there's 1 in 5 teen girls and 1 in 10 younger teen girls have actually posted nude or semi-nude, post pictures of themselves or videos online. And 37% have actually posted, at least sexually suggestive text. So I think that's another important thing to get across this month, is to really try to drive it home to these young teens that what they're doing now is going to be on that internet for their entire life, and they need to think twice.
Well, our mayor has, as other mayors, has declared this month to be Sexual Assault Awareness and Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so in addition to the activities that your agency has been pursuing, let's talk a little bit about the male's role in this process and how the nurturing of fathers is so important in addressing abuse issues.
Yeah, I think if you look at kind of the history of child welfare, right, it was set up around this construct that men would go to work and moms would stay home and kind of raise their children. And as we all know, the times have kind of shifted a little bit, where there's more households where both parents are working. There's even more households where men are the primary caretakers for their children. And I think, unfortunately, what has happened sometimes around the social service system is we haven't caught up to the times, so to speak, that the system is still kind of stuck in this, mom's the primary caretaker, and the focus becomes more, on the mother and what she can do to protect her children. So as a result, the service, DCF, other, social services haven't always done a great job at including fathers in the lives of their children. So as I talked a little bit about earlier, the research is pretty clear that when children grow up in households where there's a mother and a father, and father is healthy to be a primary caretaker, the research shows very positively that the outcomes for children are better, that they're less likely to use alcohol and drugs, and they're more likely to do better in school. So really, within our office at DCF, as well with kind of the community providers, we've recognized that this is an issue. So what we're doing within our area offices, the central DCF office has asked all area offices to develop and create FELT teams, and there's a gentleman by the name of Fernando Medeiros that oversees all these teams, and what FELT stands for is Father Engagement Leadership Team. And I chair that meeting monthly in our office, and we specifically get around a table and talk about the barriers to working with fathers, and what within our office are the issues to that, and how we can work on addressing some of those barriers. And also, I'm happy to say too, the United Neighbors of Fall River has been running, nurturing fathers groups for quite a few years now, and the program that they use is an evidence-based curriculum, and it's an all men's group that's facilitated, has two facilitators, and they talk about issues of raising children. So
now I know you have a poster which projects what it is that you're talking about. Maybe we can just hold that up for the camera to see, and at the same time talk about how people can get connected to. Just hold that up while you speak for a little bit.
Yeah.
About how people can get connected to your next father engagement group.
Yeah, so I currently co-facilitate a group with the United Neighbors, as I said earlier. So DCF came on board with the United Neighbors around about 2 years ago, and I've been running groups with them for the past 2 years. So the best way to get in contact, to get on the list to participate in the program, would be to either contact myself at 508-235-9947, or contact the United Neighbors, and we do have a flyer that we'll hold up later with an email address on there as well. So so the more fathers we can get involved in this, the better off I think we can, our children are in becoming safer in the community.
Great, and I will mention to our viewers who likely would know if they've watched this program before, that Wendy Goff-Lipp, who's my co-host usually, is unable to be here today, but Wendy Goff-Lipp is the executive director of United Neighbors, so contacting the office where she is another way to get connected into this Nurturing Fathers group. Rebecca, I wonder if you might now focus on some ways that the community can act in order to support people who, and particularly children who are victims of sexual assault or violence.
You want me to answer?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Said Rebecca was
Michelle,
talking.
That's
Michelle,
okay.
not Rebecca.
No problem. Steve, I just want to, add to what some of Mike is happening around kind of father engagement that we're hearing about that's happening on a local level that's come from a state initiative, but on a national level, there's a white ribbon campaign which is really happening to engage males in recognizing their role and making a pledge to move forward around safety. And it's very timely given that it's Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. The statistics speak for themselves, and our statistics at the Children's Advocacy Centers, while some women do abuse their children sexually, the aggressors and perpetrators are predominantly male, so engaging in better decision-making is part of this kind of white ribbon campaign to put an end to domestic violence, put an end to sexual violence against women and children in my instance. So I just wanted to speak to the white ribbon campaign that folks could Google and get information on, where they're really trying to engage men to make a pledge to be part of the solution to end violence against women. 70% of all child sexual abuse victims that we see are females, 30% are males. So statistically, the numbers speak for themselves. What we're doing at the Children's Advocacy Center to address this issue of awareness and prevention is that we feel very strongly that education and awareness are the first steps to prevention. You need to be able to talk about it. It's not an easy subject. Some of the statistics that Rebecca cited, I think one of the most challenging is that 90% of all children victimized by child sexual abuse are victimized by someone they know, love, or trust. They're known to the family. 60% are what we call intrafamiliar, they're family members, and others are known through relationships or in a position of authority. So prevention becomes a very complicated message. It talks about caretakers, your own family members, monitoring your children when you're dropping them off at sporting events or Boy Scouts and things of that sort, kind of hypervigilance around caretaker choices and being informed. So trying to get this type of information to adults. We feel very strongly at the Children's Advocacy Center that child abuse is an adult problem. It's adults who commit this offenses against children, and it's adults who need to eradicate the behavior themselves and through, if you will, societal pressure. So talking about it and outrage becomes part of the solution to eradicate kind of the poor treatment or the abuse of children. So we've developed a lot of materials that aims at educating caregivers of children about being informed, about how to talk to your children early and often, about safety, wearing a bike helmet, how to cross the street safely, and how to keep your private body parts protected. We've also, to address the whole new issue around cell phone use, social media, have had for a couple of years now a sexting brochure that I can share here. And this helps educate parents as well as children, not only about the kind of social and societal consequences, but really the laws. The laws. It's illegal, quite frankly, to take a picture of your private body part and disseminate it. We're disseminating also tools for parents, these coloring books on how to engage in those conversations about safety with your children and talk about how to teach children how to keep their private body parts safe. So these are just a few examples of what we're doing in the community at these various outreach and education opportunities throughout the month of April. And we always have this material available. And if we can't be there, we're sharing them with everyone so that they can have access to the information.
And now, particularly in Fall River, how do people get in touch with you or your office in order to avail themselves of this information, or in other ways to become more involved?
Sure. So at the Children's Advocacy Center, we really act as an information clearinghouse for anyone in the community and the consumer, and help guide them that if they have fears that someone they know in their family is being abused, they can call us. we will guide them on how to get to the appropriate investigating agency, and that would be where Mike works with the Department of Children and Families, and or to their local law enforcement. If they have concerns of abuse, we can help them navigate the systems of where to go. If they have other questions about community resources and accessing our prevention materials, they can call us at our agency at 508-674-6111, or access information on our website, which is cacofbc.org.
Excellent. So we've gotten your telephone information and your website. I know we got your telephone information. Is there also a website available to get connected to DCF, or any other way other than the phone number that you provided?
Yeah, so the website to DCF would be www.mass.gov/DCF, and also for the United Neighbors, I don't know the website offhand, but you can Google United Neighbors of Fall River, and that will prompt you to, their website as well.
Excellent. And Rebecca, now
Right.
finding Rebecca, particularly how can people get connected to the Women's Center? And also, if you could talk a little bit more about the special services that are provided by the Women's Center here in Fall River.
Right. The people can reach the Women's Center on our website at www.thewomenscentersc.com, or they can call us on our business number, which is 508-999. That's our hotline number. Our business number here, actually, I'll give you the business number here in Fall River. In Fall River, we are the Sexual Assault Crisis Center. We are the Rape Crisis Center. And we have a bilingual counselor on staff, and the number there is 508-672-1222. And people can always get help and information if you know someone that needs help, if you need help. If you just think you may need someone, and you need someone to talk to about how you might talk to someone who you think is being abused, you can call our 24-hour hotline, which is 508-999-6636. And that is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, with a live counselor for sexual assault and domestic violence. So you can get real help really fast. And we are also the resource, we have resources. We do domestic violence, sexual assault, and child trauma, but if we can't help you, we also have a number of resources and advocates that will connect you to the services that you need, either through the state or other local agencies. I don't remember what the rest of the question was.
Well, I think that you've covered it. I was pulling up this Let's Talk About It by Rebecca McCullough for the Women's Journal.
Yes, I write for the Women's Journal as well.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Bristol County as well as the South Coast editions, because that is the scope of our entire service area.
And I noticed the primary focus of Let's Talk About It is the importance of talking, doing exactly what it is that we're doing right now. I was handed a green ribbon. You mentioned the white ribbon campaign. I was handed a green ribbon by you when you entered. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the green ribbon and what it stands for, and also what this concept is about keep talking, because what does that do for the problem?
I think by keep talking, and when you're talking in the schools, and people know, the perpetrators know that people are watching. They're looking out for signs in children. Are they acting out? Do they not want to go to, Uncle John, their favorite uncle's house all of a sudden? They're looking and being vigilant. And I think this is one easy, good way to really try to stop sexual assault and domestic violence, because it is preventable. But it's like smoking. Whoever thought that smoking would not be allowed? I mean, at least when I grew up, everybody smoked. And now look how far we've come with that issue. Wouldn't it be great if we could, eradicate domestic violence and sexual assault? It's really important. Sexual assault is actually the most reported violent crime in the country, and victims need to know mostly that they are not alone. You need to believe, most of all, not only to be talking, but listen. If someone has a problem, listen to what they have, and most importantly, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult or a teen, believe them when they tell you what has happened.
And particularly the issue of blame. I mean, I think that
Right, you always need to tell them, it's not their fault. A lot of times I feel, well, maybe I brought it on, but, it's not their fault. No matter what, the victim is the victim, and it's not their fault. You should offer just to accompany them. It's really hard. We find at the Women's Center that domestic violence, mothers will come pretty quickly if they've been victims of domestic violence. But more and more of our sexual assault victims, they wait. And one thing that's really important, if you can tell someone, go and get help, get counseling right away. Because what happens is they think they can handle it, or they just want to sweep it under the rug and try to forget about it. But it's inside them, and they can end up with depression, with chronic anxiety, and often PTSD. So then by the time they go and get help, it's, so many different, so much more widespread and harder to deal with. So that's one thing. If you can talk to people, offer to help them, to accompany them to go and get help, but also just be informed. One thing with the awareness campaign is be informed. Know that DCF is here, the Child Advocacy Center, and the Women's Center. All our services are free and confidential. No one needs insurance. Everything is confidential.
Now, Michelle, I'd like to come back to that very point about children. You deal with children directly so often. Are children often reluctant, I would assume, to talk about a circumstance where they might have been a victim of sexual abuse? And how do you get a child to feel comfortable with talking about that?
That's a great question. So the whole concept of children's advocacy centers is that we're all about the children. We're child-focused, we're child-friendly. And I'm happy to say that we have many kids who are coming to us and sharing the unimaginable, but they leave saying that they want to come back because their experience has been so good. And by that I mean that we offer them, we're the expert in child sexual abuse by way of offering the investigative coordination, child forensic interviewers who are specially trained and in tune with the child's developmental stage and what we need to do to support them, but just as important, that what we call their non-offending caregiver who is suffering secondary trauma as a result of what has happened to their child or the person, the little one that they're caring for. So we go through extraordinary lengths to make sure that when they come to speak with us about what may or may not have happened to them, that we make it on their terms, what their comfort level is, and that we're in tune with their developmental level. And the other, we're really a place where that journey for healing begins. They're able to kind of talk with us, get it off their shoulders, so to speak, and give it into the hands of the people who need to deal with it from a child welfare standpoint or a criminal standpoint if a crime has been committed, and then really offer them a lot of support and guidance into the community for community-based services for whatever they need, be it counseling, be it housing, be it better, connections with schools to help them in their adjustment to school. Whatever the child and family needs, we're there to help them access that service.
Excellent. Well, we're just about ready to wrap up, and in our last moment together, if we could just reiterate the contact information for each of your respective agencies, and we'll begin, Rebecca, for the Women's Center.
And I'll give you our contact information here in Fall River. We are at 209 Bedford Street in Fall River, and our number is 508-672-1222. Our website is www.thewomencentersc.com, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm dabbling in Pinterest because I'm told that's where the women are.
And DCF?
Yeah, so the main, if you're concerned about a child who's been abused or neglected, you can call the office at 508-235-9800 and explain that you want to file a report. So, and they'll transfer you to the screening department. As far as the Nurturing Fathers group goes, you can contact me directly at 508-235-9947 or the United Neighbors of Fall River. And Steve, if we can just...
And we'll get that.
Okay.
We'll get that information. And finally,
The
Michelle?
Children's Advocacy Center, the phone number is 508-674-6111, and our website is cacofbc.org.
Well, thank you all for participating, and we thank you for tuning in to Inside Fall River. We ask you to take this message and keep talking about it. Thank you for joining us.